Brakatiya Hawa, Brakatiya Shai, Brakatiya Hawa, Brakatiya Shai, Brakatiya Hawa, Brakatiya Hawa, Bashim Yahweh Bahashim Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone with true well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Sadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shimon, and I'm gonna be speaking. This episode is gonna be entitled "The Migrant Crisis." Speaking as a man, meaning I'm just gonna speak. I'm put some scriptures out there, but why I believe they're doing this migrant thing, and why they're orchestrating this and where it could lead to. First of all, this is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. It says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." Now, the spiritual demon Satan has a physical counterpart here on earth, and that's the so-called white man, namely the elites of the so-called white man that orchestrate these different agendas and have their think tanks. Now, for us to understand this migrant thing a bit, we have to go back to 2020 when that bug happened and everything was locked down. It forced a lot of business to liquidate. It also created a lot of office space. A lot of real estate place became very empty. Now, guess what? A lot of these real estate places are now housing migrants. You have people that are doing what they call like slumlords, that pretty much they'll own a building, put 12 beds in the basement, and charge like $200 a bed. So it's a bunch of migrants coming in. But when you watch this video here by The Hill, Dirty Politics, NYC Mayor Adams busing migrants back to Texas after Governor Abbott sent them there. They came to New York because a lot of the benefits that New York they were incentivizing these people to come here in New York City, from programs to giving them money to giving them EBTs and all this type of stuff, far more than the average taxpayer. Now, why is that, right? Why is that? Why would they be funding these people and trying to get them here? Well, here's a possibility, again, speaking as a man, to weaponize them. They look, a bulk of the people that are coming from these different countries aren't the best people from their respective country, right? Because if you're doing pretty well in your own country, you have no reason to come to America. So it's people that are struggling. You got gang members, you have murderers, you have a lot of, I'm not saying every single person is like that, but that's a bulk of them. Also, a lot of them are Israelites, right? From Venezuela, from Haiti. That's another thing to notice. But again, this man being devious, okay, he could be trying to, again, weaponize the migrants. Now, why would I say that? Give them something and put guns in their hands, because I'm going to read this. This is the book of 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, in destruction. For the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Now, a major war here in America amongst the people, most Americans wouldn't be okay with killing another American. Most Americans wouldn't be okay with killing another American, right? But guess what? These migrants, they care about their own. They wouldn't have no issue, especially because you know what? A lot of them are at the point of desperation. You already see what they're doing. A lot of the violence and shit. There's a video I saw on X where they had the trick or treat shit and they just came and robbed the whole thing out. So they're desperate, They're desperate. They want food. Again, these countries, Mexico, whatever, they're bringing the worst. And you have to think, well, why would the so-called white man want to pile them in here? Why did the Democratic Party open up the border to have the place flooded with migrants? And the so-called white man could be staging a crisis. The United States has never issued federal martial law. Okay, never. Because what's this group called again? FEMA. FEMA troops aren't federal. FEMA is state. FEMA is like sort of like your state police. In fact, I'll give you an example. The FEMA troops in New Jersey they can't come and do things in New York City because it's a state by state thing. But federal martial law, again, never been issued in the United States, meaning the government using its army to quell the people. It could happen if these migrants, all right, were given weapons and told to fight. In fact, there's no voter ID, so they could even vote. And they why would they want to get Trump in, for example, who wants to get rid of them and deport them? All right, they'll probably want the Harris administration in there, so they could stay and keep reaping these benefits. So they're sort of like being pushed to lean towards that, and it's not impossible again for them to be weaponized and mobilized to go against the so-called American people, and that right there could fulfill the scriptures that we read about in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter and the 15th verse, for swords, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up against another, and swords in their hands. You see. Now, Mayor Adams is he got a bit of backlash the moment he started saying, "Look, this is too much for New York City." Then, of course, all sorts of papers came out about him, how he took bribes and all this type of shit, because he's a so-called Democrat. He was going against the grain. He's now leaning towards Trump. Even this dude Biden is starting to play towards Trump because people are trying to cover their ass just in case that dude get in there. Nobody want to get hit with a federal, because the dude said he would weaponize the DOJ. The Department of Justice the same way was weaponized against him. So, a lot of people got dirt in their closet, so they trying to cover their ass and get on his good side. So the Most High is stirring the pot greatly. All right. Now this scripture, 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, all right, it will come to pass, whether it be the migrants or whether it be regular citizens going against the police, things like that. But I'm just saying, speaking as a man, if that would have happened with the migrant situation, it will play into 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, the 15th verse. It says 16, for there shall be sedition among men. All right, meaning enticing people to uprise against the government and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. So again, this man with this huge migrant situation, why would they already don't give a fuck about police. They already got this catch and release policy. Okay? So meaning, they said if you catch them, you can release them back in the wild, back in the United States, and they're killing, they raping, they doing all types of crazy shit. The same thing happened over there with the EU. When you open up your borders, it just as the elites pretty much, it's already going to have people naturally at odds with each other. Like I said, the migrants have no issue killing another American citizen because they don't see them as their own. Wherein American citizens versus American citizens, it is not as easy. It's not as easy because, again, most Americans wouldn't want to go to war against other Americans. I'm going to read this real quick. Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great. What day? I'm going to read about it. So that none is like it. It is even the time, even as Old English, for which is the time of Jacob's trouble. But he shall be saved out of it. So this is going to become a time, like I said, we've never seen federal issue martial law before. That's something that's never been done in United States history. So the government stepping in to intervene because these migrants are fighting against American citizens because they've been weaponized. It's, something that could come to pass. Because they're definitely using this for whatever purpose. I think one brother said they already been weaponized. So we have this election coming up. Very big election. So we could, we got 5 days for a major black swan event to happen, or even post-election. Both sides are speaking about civil war. So even that could stir things up with Americans against Americans, because you got some of these ancients like Antifa. Hey man, they're already very violent. They're no different than moderate rebels in Syria. They're just agent provocateurs, really. All right, using to incite violence and incite people to get roused up. So many different angles could be used to bring that prophecy to pass, the people against the people. And I was just speculating, as a man, they could use the migrant situation for that reason. It says, Alas, for the day is great, so that there's none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So we're going to be in the midst of that. I'm talking about the prophets and those that believe in the Lord. So we just got to pray that the Most High put a hedge, and He will, around ourselves and around our families, because it's gonna be some crazy wild wild west shit out here, man. Imagine all these migrants, man, because we have a bunch of guns. We have so much guns. We have more guns than people. So we're living in some very exciting times. We got to stay prayed up because the Lord is gonna turn shit up. It's prophesied that He will before we get out of here. So with that, I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone of True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Sadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.